nowhere on Aaron's rod. The manna came out of nowhere. They were up against the Red Sea. Egyptians coming down on them, hemmed in by walls of mountains, and they said, "What in the world are we going to do? We're trapped. We got nothing." Moses called out to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and he said, "What do you got in your hand?" "A stick." "Use it." "What am I supposed to do with this stick?" Now, the story could have read anything. Maybe he would have, thrown the stick at the Egyptians and they would have all fallen down dead. But what he did was he hit the water and the water split open. There's something about splitting open, which is a Zadi concept. It came out of nowhere. The fact that we read it in the story, we go, yeah, well, of course, that's what happened. It's like, the thing about the Ark of the Covenant is it's a picture of he makes stuff come out of nowhere. You see a butterfly, you see a caterpillar, you don't make the connection unless you know about the chrysalis. The caterpillar turns into the butterfly. Comes out of nowhere. The thing about the Zadi is, not only does it not come out of nowhere to us, but from his side of view, that was the plan all along. The Zadi is also the archetype, or the icon. In other words, the Torah itself in the Ark of the Covenant is the picture of what man was supposed to be, could be, ought to be, was supposed to be from the beginning, and what is our responsibility to look like present tense. I've heard so many words from people regarding these things regarding the instructions, we don't have to. They've been done away with. We can't. We were never supposed to. He never intended for us to. It's impossible. Maybe when the Messiah comes back, he'll show us really how we were going to do it. But when he left, he said, "I've given you the instructions. I'm leaving. I'm going to come back and see whether you guys are doing it." Will there be faith on the earth when he comes back? Or is the word faithfulness? Will he find anybody doing what he said to do when he comes back? The question is, why would he have told us to do stuff if he didn't expect us to do it? It's because he does expect us to do it. I would maintain that these instructions are here as the example of what we're supposed to look like if we're properly doing it, which includes the Sabbath day and festivals, doing justly and loving mercy. The Zadi then is the archetype, the quintessential, as it were, the perfect specimen of. Look at that, conform yourself to it. So here, set before you, which is why this is in a triangle aspect, set before you is the role model of what you should look like as you're doing these three things: justice, doing justice, loving mercy, walking humbly with him, which is the result of choosing death, from death to go to life, learning the protocols, the instructions of the kingdom, believing the promises and behaving accordingly as you do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your him, which looks like the Zadi, which the promise is that if you do this, you will sprout like Aaron's rod. You will be provided for like the manna. You will sprout, as it were, the wing from the caterpillar. This is the promise, the hope set before you in the set-apart place for doing these. And these four then are inside this separate place, which simply is the life that you live because you, the outside things, learn the instructions and believe the promises. And the ramifications that will do next, we got to change the tape. Everybody's still kind of up to speed here? Okay. Addressing the connection between the days of creation and the festivals and the letters to finish that off. And then let me explain why this is critical. According to the list that Audrey gave us here of the meanings of the letters, we were just discussing in the break here how if you really want to know what a word means, you can look it up in Strong's or a lexicon or a dictionary, and they'll sometimes give you one or two words, but they might give you 10 different words. And it's like, how do I know? Do I just pick the best one or what? If you see the letter Gimel, I've already mentioned that it might mean a camel, or it might mean a conduit, or a roadway, or it might mean what a camel does, which is go back and forth, or it might mean the thing that a camel is carrying. It's like, well, or it might mean the one who gives. How do you know what to do with that if you see the letter Gimel? That's too many choices to narrow it down and make sense out of translating. So then, if you read what Jeff Benner says, Well, a gimel is a foot. It's like, well, is it a foot or is it a camel? Or is it a camel's foot? Is the aleph an ox or is it the ox's head? Or is it the master telling the ox what to do? You know, it's pretty confusing. So what I'm attempting to do here, and this is taking a little bit of time, and most of this was on the DVD that we made in 2006, which some of you have seen, but the point is, my premise is this. If you understand the Mishkan, how it's tied to the days of creation and the festivals, it's proven, or you might say validated by the Beatitudes in Matthew 6, and it is fundamentally the meaning at the basest level possible of what the letters mean. Therefore, you can take that concept and see where all these other concepts come from. But if you just look at all these other concepts, you'll never find it. It's too below. But when Yahweh said to Moshe, make the Mishkan after this pattern, my hypothesis is that the pattern pre-existed in the heavenly realm, the waters above the expanse. That somewhere, it says in the first, I think it's the beginning of chapter 2 of Bereshit, of Genesis, he says, and thus the heavens and earth were finished. The creation, the making of the heavens and earth were finished, and all their array, which means everything else. Now, it seems to me that if a pattern or a mishkan in the heavenly realm, the upper waters, was to be made, logically speaking, it would have had to have been made that first week. Because he said, thus everything in heaven and earth was finished being made that first week. Which means that the Mishkan, or the Mishkan pattern, was established and determined the first week. If this Mishkan pattern is the map of the days of creation, either he created the 7 days, and then he says, let me reference what these are. Well, that's interesting. It goes like this, and then he made the Mishkan out of that pattern, but nevertheless, it would have been established by the pattern set the first week. Or the Mishkan itself is the blueprint for the 7 days of creation, which happened to coincide with the 7 festivals. Now, whether he made the 7 festivals later and says, I'm going to key them to the 7 days of creation, wouldn't that be interesting? Or he said, no, this is all by plan. This is so specifically by plan that the 7 days are a model of the 7 festivals, which are a model of the Mishkan, which was spoken in the exact format as the Beatitudes, which all itself is exactly a model of who Yahweh chooses to present himself as, whether in the Torah, or as the Messiah, the man, or in us, as the Ruach leads us. It's all the same picture. It's all the same picture, and this is the picture. So if this, in a sense, you could say, well, what does Holy Spirit mean? In Hebrew, it would be Ruach, which is translated as Spirit, or according to some of Jeff Benner's work, it means the prescribed path of the wind, like the jet stream. Like this, according to the physics of aerodynamics and hydrophysics and all, this is the pathway that the air is going to move. In Hebrew, it's known as the derek, or the path, or the way, or the journey, or the walk, which is dalet, resh, kaf. In modern Hebrew, interestingly enough, there's almost like this aspect to it. It means the way, the path, the walk, the derek. He will teach us of his ways. That's the word for way, derek. And just to give you one more little clue, that's like D-R-K, derek. And anyway, the point is, Kadesh, or Kadosh, we may just mention this word. I wrote it up there before. Just to give you, just to show you, this is a little taste of where we're going in Daniel, and hopefully just a couple minutes. When he says in the book of Leviticus many times, when he gave, for example, the food instructions, what is food and what is not food? This is food you are to eat. This is not food. Don't eat it. I liken it to, it makes it a little easier to deal with. If someone said, would you like a cup of tea? Oh, sure. And they go and you see them vacuum, and then pull out the vacuum cleaner bag and stick it in a pot of water and heat it up and then pour it into a cup and hand it to you. It's like, what are you doing? I made you some tea. It's like, that's the vacuum cleaner filter bag. Well, that's what is a cockroach, a pig, a vulture, a rat. They're the vacuum cleaners of the earth. Shrimp, lobsters, crab, clams, oysters, they're the vacuum cleaners of the sea. Sturgeons, catfish. They are doing their job, and they do it well. We have been given a job to do. We were told, don't eat those guys. They're doing their job. The more you eat them, the less they'll be able to do their job, and we get polluted land and water. But the point is, he said, they're the vacuum cleaners. Don't make your food out of the vacuum cleaner bags. It's not food, but it tastes so good. It's not food. Take your pick. He said, don't do it. He said, my words to you are life and health and prosperity and wisdom and blessing. Now you can choose the alternative if you'd like. But these are the ways offered to you. This is a cough. An open hand, it means gift, offering. You can choose to take it and receive it. That's also a cough, meaning to receive the gift, which is itself strained and filtered for just the best, what he gives you, which are his covering, also a cough. Like a wing, Yeshua said, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I would have taken you under my wing, but you would not." That's a cough. Moshe said, "Show me your glory." And he said, "Okay, tell you what. You can't see my face." The face would be kind of like the resh, although resh means head or exalted man. It's not literally face, but it's drawn almost like, the face of the man. But he showed him his backside, which was his kuf view, minus the face. How did he show him his kuf view? By putting his kaf his open hand. He said to Moshe, "I'm going to put you in this cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand." The word is kafi, which is kaf yod. But I think it's spelled kaf pei yod, because the pei has an F sound, and this has a Y sound, and that has a K sound. So it's kafi. So Yahweh put kafi on Moses in order to let him see, keep him awake and see what was the glory of that. Right. It's coffee time, right? The other interesting thing about this, kaf yod, is the word that means, in Hebrew, for, or thus, or because. But in the dictionary, in the Red Etymological Dictionary, it also is a branding or a burning. It's almost like somehow this kaf yod maybe is some kind of a brand, where he says his two hands, his blessing and his hand of work. It's almost like the push and the pull of the lamed, of the teaching and learning. It's almost like, here's the gift, but you're going to work at it. Here's my covering, but you got to take hold of it. It's like the meanings of the kaf and lamed, or the kaf and the yod. The burning or the branding is not that I'm on a stretcher, just pick me up and carry me into the kingdom, please. Okay, he'll pick you up on a stretcher and carry you into the kingdom. That's like coming from the Zion into the Het. But once you're in the Het, he throws you on the potter's wheel, and it's the work of the two hands. The yod and the kaf is what the business is all about. For, thus, because, it's the word pronounced ki, or ki kadosh, for he is holy. So the word kadosh, we are just about to touch base on that, and this is just a little taste of what the whole book of Daniel, what we're going to do with it.